Before we talk about fall watering, I want to show you something. We had maybe 10 inches of rain in a single week, like 4 weeks ago here in Raleigh, and it actually hasn't rained since. But that week that was 10 inches of rain, most of it actually ran off. We had all kinds of flooding, even right here in our neighborhood in Raleigh and all over the city. So when you get rains like that, a lot of times they can just kind of superficially water the garden and not actually soak down into the ground. So, you know, if you look and go, well, we had 10 inches in 1 week, so that means we've had the perfect amount of rain for 2 months all at once. But if we come out here and actually dig down, I've been planting a few things. If I pull this mulch back, you can see there's a little bit of moisture right up here on the top. But when I've actually dug down into the ground a bit, a little bit deeper here, you find that it's just, look at this, it's just dust basically down here. There's very little water down deeper than, you know, my top mulch layer. And so we're having a hard time actually, you know, it's kind of hard to water when it's like that, because if you water for, let's say you put on some sort of sprinkler or drip irrigation or something like that, if you run it for like 30 minutes only, it just re-wets that kind of top 2 inches and doesn't actually wet further down into the ground. I'm standing in overwhelming fragrance right now. The Osmanthus fragrans happens to be in full bloom this week. It's blooming a little bit early, and there's a lot of things actually blooming a little bit prematurely this season. Super interesting. This, a lot of these leafy evergreens out here that are really well established are perfectly fine kind of figuring it out. You know, these things that have been in the ground for 4, 5, 6 years. My conifers, I am definitely worried, you know, that they just don't do a very good job of telling you when they're dry. This Osmanthus or this Loropetalum or this Nandina, the Nandina's never going to have a problem, but any of these leafy evergreens, a lot of times they'll lose some interior foliage. They'll start to thin out in the bottom. Some of your deciduous plants, like Weigela or Spirea or something like that, might show some interior fall color a little bit earlier where they're really, really dry. And there's still, you know, sun's still up pretty high here in early September. So plants will manifest, you know, drought stress in different ways. Again, I think some of them are blooming early. Some of them are losing leaves early. Some of the perennials are going to sleep a little early. A lot of different things. So normally here in Raleigh, and I don't know, it's going to be different all over the country from where you are. If you look statistically at what our driest months of the year are, April shows up as our driest month of the year, but it's a little bit of a little bit of weird math, because September and October, November actually our driest time of the year, probably from mid-September typically until about mid-November. And what occasionally, though, this is hurricane season, we occasionally get the 10-inch rain. You know, we don't want one of those necessarily. It's not a great rain to have for sure, but you'll get these 10-inch rains about every 10th year, and that kind of, I think that changes the math a little bit on our average rainfall in the fall. Usually in August, we get afternoon thunderstorms pretty consistently through the entire month of August, and it's our wettest month of the year, and we immediately go into what is the driest month of the year. And we always didn't say fall is for planting here in the South, and so it is the best time of year. It's probably one of the least stressful times of year, except for things that are in flower, you know, maybe camellias or osmanthus or Encore Azaleas or something like that. But most everything else is slowing down, kind of going to sleep. It's taking a break. When you put it in the ground, it's not under the, you know, it's not under fire from, hey, flower now, grow now, you know, doing all the spring. You know, when you plant stuff in the spring, it's got to not only adjust to the ground, but it's got to all the other things that you're expecting it to do during the season. In the fall, we just don't have that need, but it's dry. And so that's probably, in my opinion, the biggest downfall you could have in fall planting potentially is the fact that even in the Pacific Northwest or in California where you get winter rains, it's typically late October or November before those rains actually kick in. And so when you're digging the hole, I think you can really determine how dry it is. And that's what I have found since we were out of town for a couple weeks. Again, it rained the first week we were gone, didn't rain the second week, hasn't rained the 2 weeks since we got home, not once. And I'm looking around and somehow we've kept a little bit of moisture up in that top inch or two, and I think it might be a little deceptive as to actually how wet it is out here, or how moist it is out here, because again, you saw me dig over there and it's just dust down below that. So if you're planting anything, you know, coming up, you know, mid-September, mid-October, you're definitely going to need to water those things very thoroughly to get them established. You know, I will put a water hose next to something that I newly plant in these types of conditions and just set it there and let it run on a trickle for a while. And then I want to water the area, not just right at the base of the plant. I want to come back after that and make sure I'm watering the area around it, because this dry soil over here will take water from my watering over here. You know, it's going to try to, everything's thirsty here, right? The ground is thirsty, and it's going to take water away from where you watered that plant. So this video is really just a cautionary tale of fall is for planting. It's a great time to redoing your cool season lawns like fescue or bluegrass lawns, or some sort of mix that you have for that, or some sort of ryegrass lawn that you're doing. But it's really dry. It requires some additional water. The air tends to be drier this time of year as well. Fall is, so for us here in the Southeast, spring goes cold morning, 90 degrees frequently, and we get very little spring in there. But fall is our, you know, just kind of best time of the year to live in the Southeast, really, because we have lower humidity, and we have, you know, cooler nights, days that are just kind of perfect in the 70s for month after month. But unfortunately, if you're gardening in that conditions, it's easier to work outside, but it will require more watering. And so I think we think about, as the days get shorter, the nights get cooler, water will go further. So you won't have to use the same volume of water to accomplish the same thing, but you do need to water. And I would get out there now, if you live in an area where you've had either flooding type rains, you know, only, or you've had, or you're just in an area where you've gone weeks or months without water, I would definitely be checking on things, even things that you think are pretty well established at this point, because again, I'm out here digging over the last couple of days going, holy moly, we're up on rain for the year, but it's just a lot of the rains have just been, you know, 3-inch rains where, you know, a lot of the vast majority of it just ran off into the sewer system and didn't really benefit the plants that were in the ground. And I'm doing a lot of consultation work, you know, a lot of consultations this week, and plants with nutrient deficiencies, plants with early fall color, plants that are blooming out of season, plants that are, you know, all kinds of issues related to what I think is stressful conditions, probably created by too much water, too little water, too hot, too cool, too, you know, like it's a very changeable year. Where we've gone from one extreme to it feels like the garden's just being jerked this way, that way, this way, that way. Right now, at least for us, and I would imagine a good portion of you out there, even if it looks a little moist, you might want to dig down a little bit and see if you actually need to add some water to your garden. Thanks for watching.